So, Caroline, how are you? Welcome to hashtag Lee Rogers Meets.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm dead excited about this. It feels like a real treat, Lee, just to be having a conversation with somebody different.
I tell you, I hear you, honestly. It's definitely one of those things that I definitely took it for granted before, let's say that.
Yeah, too right. I think like me, you're an extrovert, so you need people, don't you? And just talking to the family all the time, much as I love them, I would like to have a different point of view every now and then.
Well, this is an International Women's Day special, especially releasing on Monday. And when I really thought about this and I dug deep, I was like, who's one of the women in my life that has inspired me? And you've done previous work with me, and I think you lit a touch paper in me, and your colleagues at the time that really made me think differently, and critique and challenge and all that good stuff. But just going, how do you do what you do in a better way?
Yeah.
And given the focus of International Women's Day this year being about achievement, I just wanted to, an author. Right, tell us about that.
Well, I've always wanted to write. Always. I've got books after books after books kind of littered around the house with the start of novels or business books and, kind of getting those ideas together. And I think in some respects, lockdown was great for me because it got me off the hamster wheel. When you're involved in your business, you obviously looking after your clients, you're doing what you can to get new clients. It's that continuous process. And our style of learning, it's very tactile, it's very kind of getting together. Now, obviously, we couldn't be doing that anymore during lockdown. So Wendy, my business partner, and I just decided that we were going to take stock for a moment and just reflect on what it was that we wanted to do. So, of course, for me, the first thing came up was writing. And so, whilst we've got busy again now, which is great, I'm still carving out the time to write. So we published one in September, which was kind of a quick guide, an ideas book for busy L&D professionals. It's called what's it called? How am I going to remember? It's called a guide for busy L&D professionals. So your Genius Handbook, a guide for busy L&D professionals. It's just designed full of little ideas and tips about how to engage and challenge, build curiosity, those kind of things, really, Lee. And that was a quick write. We wanted to get something out there. We wanted to experience what it was like to write and go through the whole process. And I'm just coming to my final proof of our next book, which is a much bigger tome. It's taken a long time, lots of iterations to do, which is called Choice. The Keys for Unlocking Everyday Genius.
I cannot wait to get a signed copy of that book.
Of course.
Awesome. It sounds fascinating. And I was seeing on LinkedIn that you shared a story this week.
That's
Are you okay to share that on International Women's Day?
Yeah, happily so. I think it's actually very relevant. It was alternative routes to motherhood. So we adopted two children 13 years ago now. And it was exploring the relationship between myself and my daughter. So it was wonderful to be able to do it. It provoked lots of big questions as a family. It encouraged Summer and I to really sort of reflect on our journey, because she hated me. She absolutely hated me when we first met. She didn't speak to me for several months. Every question had to go through Bill rather than me. But now we're just best of friends. It's just amazing. So it's kind of, it talks about how that came about and what we had to do and what we learned from it, really.
And what were the key takeaways? It got in a magazine, I believe, as well.
Say that again.
Yeah, so what were the key takeaways of the article? And you talked about big questions. So I'm intrigued about what they were. And also, was it published in a magazine?
Yeah, it was published in Woman magazine on Tuesday. So it was the, what was it, 2nd of March? Yeah.
I definitely have to go and get a copy.
So the key takeaways were, I think this one is a really big one for me, and I think it's quite pivotal in some of the changes that I made with the way that I work with people. I think I'm a fixer. You know, if there's a problem, I want to solve it. I want to get down dirty with people and just get it done. Bang, out of the way. And obviously, as I said, someone didn't speak to me for months. And you can imagine, as sort of a new mum, that was horrendous. She was 6 when she was adopted. So that was really hard. You know, I pictured this amazing family that we were going to have and this exciting life of things that we were going to all do together. And it just wasn't materialising. And I can remember the social worker sitting down with me one day and sending Summer and Bill out the room. And she sat down with me and she thumped the table and she just went, "Caroline, give it up." And I went, "What? I'm not going to give it up." And she went, "You're just trying too hard. Just let it be, let it see, just work out what's going to happen and just give the relationship space to grow." And that kind of sense of patience was really an anathema to me. You know, I could work it out, but this was one of those occasions where it wasn't for me to work out. It was all within Summer, and I needed to give her the opportunity to work it out for herself. And as soon as I backed off, incredibly, she started working it out for herself and everything started changing. Really fascinating. And I think in business, you know, we get the project plan, we want to get it sorted. It's like bum, bum, bum through the milestones, and then you hit a problem. And you get so in there trying to sort it, you don't actually give yourself space and the people around you who can influence the outcome the space to get involved and get it sorted. And I think sometimes it's just about that space and clever questions to make things happen.
I guess that's part of my my day job, right? So I'm definitely smiling inside because I'm kind of going, in my mind, that in fact I listened to a podcast, a coaching podcast, that was the problem with being the fixer. Only 2 days ago, and it was like, give up control or let it go, in terms of a Disney song.
Yeah. Let it
go. Me and my 3-year-old daughter were just singing karaoke to that about 20 minutes ago. I'm glad you don't have to hear that on here for sure, but
oh, I don't know, I might enjoy it. But it's true, isn't it? You know, I think we're sort of pre-programmed to control things, pre-programmed to, you know, work it out. We have the resources within ourselves to do it. And letting go doesn't change that. It doesn't change who you are. It just gives permission and opportunity to other people to shine through that process.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And what would you say has been, you know, you talked about some of the challenges there then of motherhood, alternative routes to motherhood, I think you described it as. What have been some of the joys, and what have you learned from your kids?
Oh my God, where do you actually start with that? You know, I think I'm a workaholic. You know, that's hard to manage with family life, isn't it? And I very, very quickly realised that couldn't stay as it was. And so there was kind of this internal battle in my head about, you know, the fight because I was losing something. And as soon as I could reframe it for myself into something I was going to gain, that just made all the difference. So I've learned to live in the moment much more. You know, my son was 3 when he came to us. He had an insatiable sense of curiosity. Like, he wanted to know everything. And this was pre-verbal, he wasn't speaking at the time. but he just wanted to soak up every influence that was available to him. So, you know, that was amazing, from the flowers on the walk or the conkers, you know, through to how does that boat sail, you know, whatever it was, he wanted to know. So I think that kind of sense of curiosity and living in the moment to allow yourself to experience things fully, I think has been a really pivotal moment for me. And I think it's also about keeping the main thing the main thing. You know, when you're a career person, and I don't think it's that much different whether you're a career father or a career mother, but I think the primary caring duties often still fall to the mother. You've got to work out what's most important to you, and you've got to work out what you can therefore let go and what's really important to keep a hold of. So obviously in the early days, building this family and this sense of safety and togetherness was far more important to me than chasing the money. And that had consequences, but consequences in the short term that I was really prepared to live with. And I think that the way that I've come back because of it is so much stronger and so much more valuable for people, because I've got that sense of balance now. It really works.
I kind of hear that a little bit. I know when I started off as a dad, and I think I've said on other episodes, is so we had Ella through IVF, through quite a traumatic process.
That must have been incredibly hard.
Yeah, it was, and actually the hardest part was failed IVF. Before I've been through a number of things in life, but that you would say are harder, but actually that was the one that hit me the hardest, was the most. It was I think you coined it before, but it was almost the desperation, the trying too hard in wanting that perfect family, that vision, and almost going, what's my purpose? You know, I'm ready for that next stage. I'm ready for that purpose. So once I came around, I was like, I tried to be involved as a dad. I term it modern man. I you know, in my mind, I wanted to be there. I wanted to spend every waking moment with her. I wanted to support my wife. I wanted her to still flourish in her career. All my savings, I was like, use that for maternity and create that bond, everything. But I was definitely trying too hard. I was definitely holding on. Yeah, and I kind of so I put on loads of weight, for example. Put on a ton of weight. Because I was all focused, like, if I don't spend every waking minute, I'm not doing her a service. And then like I spent last year and I lost 4.5 stone, and it was all around actually just focus on me a little bit, invest in me a little bit, to then serve being around longer as a dad and as a husband.
But also it's more than that, isn't it? If you invest in yourself, if you're strong yourself, you have so much more energy and mental capacity as well as physical capacity to be able to spread around. When you're not solid, when you're not strong, you just can't do that.
But it goes back to the hamster wheel, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
So I think this thing about keep the main thing is so important, because, you know, we want a bit of this and we want a bit of that and the shiny new and, oh, that looks exciting. But actually, what is important about your life? What is it that is really the most important thing to you right now? And then how do you find balance around that?
And what's that for you right now?
What's that for me? We've got, I mean, in some respects, lockdown has been amazing for us as a family, because, as you know, my husband's an MP. So each week he travels down to London from Liverpool. So we have a 3-day-a-week dad. And now he's at home full time. So although he's working, he's around. So, you know, for me, that's been about, at the moment, it's really been about helping Bill really kind of work out how to be in the family 24/7, and how we can all enjoy him and he can enjoy it whilst he can still go on with his work as well. You know, because that's the most important thing to me, is that the family, and making sure that that's strong and everything else fits in around that. So we work funny hours. You know, I'm a morning person. I get out of bed with a zing first thing in the morning. So I get a couple of hours work done before the house starts murmuring. And then I've got a teenager and a 20-year-old. She's furloughed, he's not going to school. So they kind of stagger up at various times in the day. It's just making sure that you're available for them and that I can fit in. And most days I'm very lucky I can fit in kind of my work around those points that are so important, because they're an opportunity to connect, aren't they?
They are. And what solely for you, just for you, what's the thing in time for you? I know you talked about family, but thinking about yourself for a second.
Oh, what do I need to do for me? Or what do I do for me? Oh, well, I do firmly believe that if you're strong yourself, you can do amazing things. So I do concentrate on that. So I've got 2 dogs. I love walking. We have about 2 hours walking every day. Every single day I'm outside, rain or shine. And that's for me. And I often have the luxury of meeting up with a friend, 2 meters distance, of course. But, you know, just being able to have that conversation. She's as mad as a hatter. So we always end up giggling stupidly over the silliest things. That for me is really important. I bake and cook. The family don't really like cake, so I end up sharing most of the baking that we do. But I love it, you know. So why not do it? So those are the kind of things that I do for me. I love reading. You know, I'm loving writing. So all of those things are really important.
And my question out today, I think, on World Book Day, last week on World Book Day, was, are you a paper, digital, or audio?
Ooh, I'm all 3. Isn't that terrible? So I've always got an audiobook on the go because I listen to it in moments when I'm on my own. So like when I'm cooking or cleaning, I'll listen to an audiobook or podcasts. I've always got a paper book on the go. That's I'm going to bed, or I just want to relax. I need to feel the pages, and I love the smell of books. If I'm traveling, I've got a Kindle. So I've got books loaded on Kindle. So it's kind of, everything has a purpose.
It sounds like you're pretty sorted there to me.
And sometimes I really enjoy, it's a bit like watching a film that you've read the book for, or vice versa. I sometimes enjoy listening to the audio and then reading to see if I get something else out of it.
Yeah, I talked about my favourite book being Goodnight, Mr. Tom.
Yeah.
As a kid, and I read it, and then I saw it as a film, and it gives me goosebumps even now.
Yeah. So what are you? Are you digital or paper?
No, I'm all audio now. Audio. Yeah. And actually, I'm going to turn this into an audio as well. I'm going to put this on the various podcast outlets so that people can hear it or experience it in a different way. Actually.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, I love podcasts, and even if I've got a video on, I tend to be doing something, so I'm not watching. I'm just kind of listening to it in the background.
Great. So, talk me through some of the highlights of your career or life.
So early on in my career, I was very much a maverick. You know, I was running so fast, just kind of wanting to catch up. I think my highlights have been key people that I've met along that journey that have touched my life in those moments. So early on, I had a boss who didn't promote me, and stroppy little madam that I was, I went in and demanded to know why, and he very patiently explained to me and took the time to, rather than going, who does she think she is, which was completely within his rights to do because I was very stroppy. He took the time, he saw something in me and took the time to nurture that in a more positive way. And without that conversation, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. You know, so I think all the way along my career, I've had a few of those kind of moments. I think another one, you know, International Women's Day is about stand up and challenge. I had a sexist boss who said to me, I've had stiletto heels between the shoulder blades before. It didn't work then and it won't work now. I was horrified because that was not what I was doing. I was sharing ideas, but he didn't like it. And the very fact that a director supported me in that, HR didn't, but my previous director supported me in that and was incredible. That has been a complete highlight. And then obviously setting up the business, and some of the contracts that we've got have been absolutely phenomenal, and some of the people that we've worked with, and around the globe, it's just been such a joy. Every contract brings something new and some new learning that we just love.
Amazing, and I know how much energy and vibrancy that you bring to those. Which is incredible. And I would highly recommend to anyone. I guess that's why you're a guest on Lee Rogers Meets, right? But genuinely, I think, and it's interesting there about what you were saying about those, when you get some of those challenges, actually it can become a highlight. I'm curious, does the person that helped you, the first director, does he know the impact he's had on your life?
Yeah, he has, because so he's now in Australia. And he's a coach. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I just, you go along your journey, don't you? And you just forget things. And then suddenly something just clicks into place. And it reminded me of him. So I looked him up and I found him on LinkedIn. And I got in touch with him, and we're in correspondence now, which is absolutely lovely. So I told him, and he was really, really touched to know what a difference he'd made to me. And he said, "You were bloody hard work, Caroline, really hard work." I'm, well, thanks.
It's not meant to be easy.
Yeah, no, it's not. And I think, for me, he went on to huge things. He was running IKEA in Australasia, the whole area. So, he had an amazing career post that, and completely well deserved. I can imagine that he would have been phenomenal. So, I feel very blessed that he remembered me apart from anything else.
You say that, right? That may have been like a breakthrough moment for him about how to handle someone with lots of enthusiasm but needed pointing in a different direction.
I'd like to think so, Lee.
I do resonate with that though, like wanting to run before I could walk early on in my career. I definitely resonate with that.
Yeah, and it wasn't that I was a know-it-all. It wasn't that I thought that I knew better than anybody else. It was more that I just had this insatiable curiosity. I just loved exploring and finding out new things. And I think for some people, I was probably just way too much in your face and, too demanding. And I think if I was to give myself advice now, it would be, think about that, be more patient, think about how you present yourself, take your time getting to know people. Don't just assume everyone is going to love you from the minute that they meet you. Those kind of things. I think that there was a huge naivety for me when I started my career.
It's fascinating to hear, and that was going to be one of my questions. So you've answered it. Like, what would you tell yourself? And no, it's cool. What would you tell yourself, an 18-year-old Caroline, to do?
Yeah, it would definitely be patient, look for the positive intent in people. I think that I was very quick to judge. If somebody didn't instantly kind of understand me and what I wanted to do, because I think you're self-centered when you're younger. I don't think it's just me. I think a lot of people are. And I think that I handled the whole of that situation really badly. Whereas now, having learned patience, having learned the immense value that difference brings, how important is it to get different people in the room to solve a problem? And, live with that friction, explore it, be okay with it, because that's when you're going to ignite something good. but in my early career, that wasn't an option for me at all. So I think, yeah, be patient, value other people, value everybody that you come across, because you just never know what they can bring or what their story is. I mean, Lee, you talk about stories. Just taking the time out to be patient and listen to people is so informative and just an absolute joy, isn't it?
It definitely is, and this is a case in point, right?
Yeah, just understanding where people are coming from and encouraging them to share.
Yeah, I have a simple hashtag, and it's kind of the inspiration for this a little bit is around everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And I truly believe it's important, like you said, to connect, to understand them, to collaborate in a better way.
Yeah.
You need to understand more of people at a deeper level if you're really going to get the most out of them.
Yeah, I just think that we need to encourage people to bring the whole selves to work. You know, there have been so many people, as an example, that, you know, they'll come on a workshop and they'll be frustrated, or they'll be having a bit of a moan about something. And I always talk about choice. You always have a choice, hence the title of the book. You always have a choice. And they're going like, yeah, but you don't know what it's like for me. It's like, absolutely, I don't know what it's like for you, but what I do know is that you have a choice. And as you then kind of build their trust and get them involved in the learning setting, it's like they've got permission to shine. And I am completely and honestly, I mean, I was looking the other day actually at some of the photos from our session, and just completely in awe of what people create, and then how they share that story of their creation in a learning setting that they wouldn't dream of doing at work. And why not? We've got to just enable that kind of genuine creativity to come out, because that's when people are performing their best, when they feel that they can be themselves.
You know, it's a personal belief massively around that, and I think, you know, across the board, I think, because I think what you start to do is actually rationalize it for yourself as well. So yes. When you share of yourself, and you know, you're the custodian of that. No, you know, it's not about sharing your life story. For, you know, you said before, for some people that's too much, and rightly so it is. However, I've always done and gone. I almost describe myself as a hearts on the sleeve kind of guy. And then, and I'm not saying that that's right, and I know that doesn't work for everybody. But what I do know is then, but yeah, of course,
you need to be flexible in your communication.
Yeah, and I guess it's meeting people where they're at as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So what have been some of the biggest challenges then of your career?
I think we still have we have a reputation for doing things differently, and I think that's always a risk. Your key stakeholder might be completely committed to it, but other people around the edges can often find that really difficult. And I think that we've had a number of projects that we've been large cultural change projects that we've worked on where not all the key stakeholders have been on board, and managing those is really difficult. And an example is we were working for a UK bank that was setting up a new part of the business, and they wanted the contact centre to be really different. So we were involved in the training of making sure that happened. Part of it was compliance training. So we set up this courtroom scene. So it was a relevant court case to the work that they were doing. We set up the scene, they all had roles, and they learned all the elements of compliance through this court scene. And the director of compliance hadn't been involved in the stakeholder discovery part of it. He'd had other people involved, but he wasn't. He learned about it, absolutely flipped out, completely flipped out about it. And And we just had to convince him to give us a try. Sorry, my cat's decided to join us, hence some of the noise in the background. I do apologise.
All the better.
So we convinced him to just pilot one group of people. No, can't do it live. So we said, let's pilot it with your compliance team and see what they think. And you can be the judge. So we had a slimmed down version and he experienced it. And from the moment he experienced it, he was sold. So I think that the biggest challenge is, how do you get busy people to experience what you're trying to achieve with their people? Because they can sometimes feel reluctant. It's a risk for them. I think that's been very challenging. And I think that's it, really. I don't, people like you or they don't. I will always try and meet people where they are, as we've said, and be really flexible. But I think I've learned that some people aren't going to like you, and that's okay. And it's just sort of working out how you draw more of the right people to you to be able to do a great job, really. But I think in terms of challenges, it's where people haven't been involved from the start and influencing them part way down the line. I think that's one of the hardest things to do.
I hear you.
And I don't think that makes any difference whether you're an internal consultant or external. I think it's exactly the same. People want to get involved at different stages of a project, don't they?
Yeah, sure. I kind of resonate that in terms of some of the stakeholder management, engagement tools, models, experiences, for sure. What do you, as a family, what do you do for fun?
Ooh, we're playing a lot of Scrabble at the moment. We've got wordsmiths in our family, so we've got wordsmiths and Harry Potter lovers. So we've got Harry Potter Scrabble, but we're yet to find a Harry Potter word that we could put on the Scrabble board. Our big source of fun is skiing. Since we had the kids, we've taken the kids skiing every year. It's where we really just kind of thrive as a family, in the mountains, in the snow, being playful. So of course we haven't been able to do that this year. We managed to we got in a ski holiday last year just before lockdown started, so we were really, really lucky. So we've been enjoying all the old photos and films of us skiing and kind of enjoying that side of things. That's kind of the main one. We obviously eat together when we can, which is always really nice. And the kids are big on debating. So we've had some interesting debates around what's current at the moment. The BBC are doing Henry VIII, and they've cast a black woman as Anne Boleyn. Is this okay? That's probably been going for about 3 nights so far. We haven't drawn any conclusions yet. There's just some really, really interesting thoughts on it, which is fascinating.
Yeah, sure. I don't have the debate in my family yet, and although my daughter is a 3-year-old, often wins the debate, actually. But I've been recently on BBC Radio Manchester as a panelist. I've done it for about 18 months, and it's some of the stuff that comes up is fascinating.
Yeah.
Some of it's trivia, and you're like, I don't really.
What's been the biggest question that you've had to deal with?
Well, interestingly, and I'm not saying this because your husband's an MP that you mentioned before, is actually dealing with the election. And then I remember doing an all-nighter, and I'd never thought to watch the election, to hear the results, and then went straight into the studio at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock to talk with Mike Sweeney. I was definitely wide on coffee that morning, for sure. And it was like, right, what's your reaction? I was kind of like, ooh. I didn't really sign up to the Good Parent show at the start of it to be discussing politics, but it came around, and actually I was quite passionate about it when I was in the studio. So I was like, actually, what are your thoughts on it? And it was interesting. And I remember my auntie then rang into the studio, or was on my phone going, he can't say that about you. And I can't remember the exact quote, but it was around, oh, you just look like a normal Labour guy or something. And she said, how dare he, sort of thing. And then he actually apologised live on air, because I told him sort of in the off briefing, going, you're in trouble, son.
Oh, brilliant. I remember the first time I spoke at a party conference, and it was up in Blackpool, and it was before mobile phones, and I was speaking about education. Of course I would. And I'd really upset David Blunkett, who was education minister at the time. And the following day, Jack Straw caught me and just said, I thought it was really interesting what you said. So I went, phew, it wasn't too bad. But when I got home, my answer phone was absolutely full of messages from people who I thought hadn't got a political bone in their body at all. And my mum's was hilarious. She just went, oh, Caro, I wish you wouldn't wear those trousers, and you should have brushed your hair before you went on television.
Brilliant.
The things that are important, eh?
But it's those moments, though, that keep you really honest and really real, isn't it?
Oh, too right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess what's the thing that you're going to take out of this lockdown that you're going to treasure?
Oh, what a great question. You know what? I think more than anything, it's been about coordinating time, particularly with Summer, because Summer's working and she's working in a pub, so she often works nights. Some of the little things that we've been doing, like, you know, dancing around the kitchen while you're cooking a meal with your favourite tunes, you know, just finding really simple ways to have fun. That, I think, you know, by default, we'd go out, we'd go for a meal or something like that. And I think what we've learned is that you can actually have a huge amount of fun indoors. We've started painting again. You know, I've got a massive paint by numbers that Summer and I are just doing. Now, that Liverpool picture behind us, you can't see it very well, but that probably took us about 3 years to complete. It's just a line and we coloured it in. And stuff like that. Put on some good music, get your head down, do something that doesn't matter, and chat is just an absolute joy. And I think that's what I've really learned and what I want to hold on to. What about you, Lee? What's yours?
It's to be present. My daughter, you know, we said it would be authentic and honest, right? So my daughter has said a few times, Daddy, put down your phone.
Yeah.
And it was like a dagger in my heart every time she said it. And I know that's dramatic, but it was kind of like, that's not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've actually got a digital detox box. My wife got it me for Christmas. So literally the habit of picking up a phone, I've got, when I come in, it's like, right, or when my daughter comes back and it's right, put the phone in the box. And even if that's for 2 hours, whilst we then focus on her time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And engagement. But it is the small stuff. No, I've been speaking to
the small stuff.
That's small is the new big.
I like that. Good catchphrase. Small is the new big.
And I'm curious, how long do you think it will be before people forget that and what we've experienced?
I don't know. I think that there's a huge number of people that are just clamoring to get back out there in life. I think that there are people that have found lockdown immensely hard and they will just want to kind of get on with life as normally as they possibly can. I think it's probably people like you and I that have taken the opportunity to reflect and really enjoyed these experiences. And a lot of people I've spoken to have said the same thing. I think those people, hopefully, touch wood, will cling on to it. I'm going to do everything I can to do it. And you know what? I think our children will teach us to. I think they will keep reminding us. I used to enjoy it, Daddy, when you put down the phone and concentrated on me. And I think we just got to remember to listen to those clues, because they're all around us all the time.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, it's been a fascinating chat. I'm sure that people will have taken a lot from it. Thank you so much, and just know that you inspire so many. And I really appreciate your time and sharing your story.
Thank you, Lee. As I said at the start, this is a real treat, and I just so appreciate having the opportunity to have a gab with you more than anything else. And I hope people do enjoy it.
Oh, fantastic. All right. See you soon.